Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on In Review, where we look at some of the top news. Thank you for those who are going to be joining us on Instagram, those going to join us on Facebook and YouTube as well, especially YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. And it's a great Thursday evening, 11th of the 11th, 2021. 11th of the 11th. Anyway, I don't know what that means, but maybe it means something. But anyway, guys, let me just go straight into it and bring in the guests because it's going to be a packed night tonight. And firstly, we get the reverend so we can get a prayer going on. Gary, how are you doing? All right?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm cool in the Malibu, you know what I mean?
I've got to look as good as you. I'm trying to look as spiffy as you.
Well, I think we got to get let's get Richard in. Let's get Richard to Hey Richard, how are you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Yes,
evening.
I'm easy. Yep.
So hang
Welcome.
on. Let's bring in David and then we see how diverse we are. Oh my days, there's a woman in the place. But anyway, that's a good story. Somebody's gonna say something tonight. David, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Yes, David, it's good to see you.
Yeah. So firstly, Richard, you are in
Manchester.
You're in Manchester, Jamaica, and Gary, you are in
Manchester, UK. Go back. I wish to be sunny climes. Yes. Yeah.
And Gary, you're in.
I'm in Leeds, Chapeltown, Leeds. Good old Chapeltown.
And David, the main man.
I'm in York, not Yorkshire. I know Yorkshire is in the press right now. Yorkshire Cricket Club at least is in the press. But I'm in York.
Well, controversy. No.
Well. Firstly, let's go straight into sports. Is cricket a racist club, a racist thing? I mean, there are a lot of things talking about cricket. I mean, Richard, maybe you want to jump on that one quickly as a way to just start the program since David is talking about cricket. You know, yeah.
I think it's a very, very thorny subject, isn't it, cricket? Because I grew up playing cricket as a young chap, and my first club is a white club I joined in Manchester here. And to be fair with you, I was a bit naive at 18. I never see color. I never see racism. Yes, it may happen during that period, but as I get older, yes, I experience it. And yes, it's happening in cricket. I watch cricket on TV and see it happen play out.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's nothing surprised about what's been in the news recently about what's going on in Yorkshire. I know other counties will be saying things in private at the moment. Hopefully, some of them maybe come out and admit that there is racism. Yeah. Just have to wait and see.
So are we saying then somehow the spotlight is now being is shining now on this area because we had the football which was on recently and now got cricket. David, what's your take on it?
Yeah, my take is obviously that, cricket in itself isn't inherently racist, but you're going to have entities within any sport franchise that can potentially harbour ill thoughts to people of colour. And unfortunately, obviously, this is rolled out and you've seen it in regards to how Yorkshire Cricket Club has found itself in a spot of jeopardy. And going forward, I do hope that more of this is called out, and we see the result of that in people being correctly identified and not being in the positions of power that they're communicating. And going forward from that, you want to see people of colour within these organisations as well, having particular positions, because you need to have a reflection of the society that we live in. It's as simple as that. But the sport itself isn't, and I think that cricket is a great sport. And you can see the effects of that. The Cricket World Cup that's going on at the moment. People are involved. It brings in big money, and people are able to enjoy it. So, the sport in itself is not the problem. It's the people within the sport who command the positions that they do, and unfortunately use their power to act in manner that is not in keeping with what we want as a society.
Yeah, and. Gary, what's your take on the whole thing with cricket there?
Well, I mean, I think every so often, and especially on your program, Seymour, the area of sport comes up, It's in football. It's in cricket. What's coming up next? Tennis or basketball? I mean, it's in society. The thing about it, my friend, is that again, I wish we could play a little bit more about what John Barnes says. It's in these areas because it's in society. We'll never, or in society, and it's in families.
Yes.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty now. Yeah, we can always, attack the chairman of these clubs, even though they're the wrong persons. Really, they're just in an unfortunate position, having to give answers to situations that sometimes is not of their making. So how can you then comment on a particular area when in the first place you weren't there for it coming in? It's there. It's already entrenched in the area in which we're taught, or in which may be addressed. So we have to attack or tackle the situation of homes, of societies, families. Once that's taken out of the hearts, out of the minds of society, then it will then only leave the areas of sport or the areas of work. We're going to have to even look at some great big conglomerates or big business, because it's in there still. We've got many people like yourselves, great doctors, magnificent lawyers. But what do they say? There's a glass ceiling. You can only go so high, but you can only see through it, but you can't go above it.
Yes.
These things. Why? Because it's in society that people like yourselves, like us, can't get there. We can see it, but we can't get there because of. And that's why I love Jamaica so much, little Jamaica. Because you got black prime minister, you got black lawyers, you got black doctors, and they exceed and grow and flourish.
I think, Silver, can you just touch on the point before obviously we might move on to another topic area? But I've always believed when the right people in authority, they can make a massive difference.
Yes.
I believe that if you have the right person was chief exec, the chairperson, on other key players in Yorkshire Cricket Club, as we're talking about Yorkshire Cricket Club now, right? If they from up to bottom to the guy who sweep the pitch, if they actually make it absolutely clear to the players and to the people, the pundits, and to the ordinary supporters, say, listen, this ground, this club, 100% is actually will not tolerate racism. And that reflect on other sport club. I could see a massive difference. Culture within this country, because people worship their club, they come and they want to enjoy the sport, and those people at the top, stop hiding behind your job and your security for the sake of racism. If something is wrong, you need to say it.
Okay.
Support it.
All right, let's move on from that now, and just say hi to different persons there, and say good night. Remembrance Day, which is happening, and I just remember that I wanted to have said something there. Lest we forget, today's Remembrance Day, 11th of the 11th. Yes, and as someone said earlier, surely Remembrance Day in some places. Couple weeks ago, I did have a show with Paul Chambers, and we were talking about the puppy for the Caribbean as well. So it's a Remembrance Day. So we just give our memory. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that. Nobody have any puppy, but
Can I just say for the viewers, this Sunday is a Remembrance Sunday. Today is a Remembrance Day, which not because by Remembrance Sunday. And so we all need to come out and support our unsung heroes.
Yes,
Sundays as well. Yeah, so today is a special day. Is when war was declared null and void across the world.
Yes.
Sunday is a way of celebration and acknowledgement. So we all, no matter which organization and individual, can come out and support Sunday.
Yeah.
So I make sure I will gather my troops in Manchester to acknowledge and remember Sunday.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for those coming on Instagram as well. Big Thomas from Jamaica, Chrissy, Son of Melody, Caribbean Food Center, big up Caribbean Food Center. People go and check that out in Catford, Rushy Green. Am I correct? Caribbean Food Center? I'm sure I'm correct there because I've been there as well. I want to touch on this because we want to touch on Jamaican deportation, the Klerk legacy, and most importantly on the JABS for jobs, whereby NHS staff is going to be sacked. I'm supposed to be getting contact with someone from Canada who recently was also, terminated after 33 years, because of the JABS for job bits. So that's going to be a very controversial thing. But I want to ask a question: should MPs keep their professional jobs? Let's go for that standard one. Let's start off with that interesting one and get it off. Should MPs keep their professional jobs while they are in Parliament? Because that's one of the big issues which is there. David, since you're a parliamentarian,
I'm parliamentary. I like Parliament. I really like to talk politics. No, I think it depends, Silborn, and it's all about conflicting interests, and that's what it depends on. Quite obviously, I'm trying to take my doctor hat off here, but if you're a doctor in Parliament and you want to still keep your clinical skills up and work in a GP practice, wherever it is that you want to work, I think it would be wrong for you to not be able to practice as a working doctor and be in Parliament, fulfill that position and role. So a carte blanche, no, you cannot work have a professional job and work in Parliament, for me is wrong. I don't think you should have that. I think there should be exceptions. And I don't think that's conflict of interest either. We have conflict of interest that can happen in medicine, and one such would be affiliating very strongly with a particular medical company and being swayed in your judgment in how you may well practice medicine going forward, and that is a big no-no. There's it's a big slap of the wrist, and also it's not condoned within any working environment. So there are exceptions that we have as doctors, and I think there should be there are scenarios where we shouldn't be working alongside pharmaceutical companies, but there are also exceptions where we work independently, and I think the same should be said with politicians. There should be exceptions to the rule, and as long as it's not causing a big conflict of interest, then I don't see it as a particular issue. Now, the recent sort of scandal, should we call it, that have come out, obviously don't sit very well with the way that we, I would say, as a whole, would look at the way that the parliamentary person should be conducting their environment. Now, we can have a discussion about that and say, okay, there are exceptions, and maybe this particular example, he can do what he wants or whatever. But I think there's obviously questions to be asked as to the manner of the way that you do it, and obviously the dynamics of the relationships that are built and what stems out of those relationships. And it's a very complicated picture. I completely understand that, but I think in this particular example, there's something that's a bit murky. And that's why it's caused the angst that it has, and it's not right, from my personal viewpoint. I don't think it's right that you should be able to conduct that kind of work across the shores in government facilities. I think that's a bit wrong. So, but I'm keen to hear what other people think in the matter.
Yeah, and also Jeffrey Cox. Bring Jeffrey Cox into the equation as well. Jeffrey Cox, former Attorney General. Because they had an image of him actually conducting a case, an international case, in the House of Parliament, and they were saying that was also a breach. Richard, what's your take on that? Don't MPs who are actually in Parliament for a period of time, it could be 4 years, 6 years, or get recalled or so, they have had their professional career for a while. Yeah, should they not somehow hold on to it somewhat, because they can be kicked out tomorrow?
I think, my take on it, yes, I think professional people could be medical professional, other lawyer, barristers, if they actually decide to step forward and represent their constituents as an MP or a councillor, I don't think they should actually just dismiss their work. I think that should be on hold while they serve, the main part of their job is to represent the constituency, and that's what the public expect from them. But to dismiss the job and say, well, it's no longer matters while I'm in Parliament, I think that's wrong. But as David rightly said, there is a fine line between conflict of interest and this matter. But in relation to this gentleman, it's no. There's no way you can be in the House of Parliament on a Zoom or call doing your other job. That, to me, is gross misconduct in any other jobs. So I don't think it should be different. Yeah, he should be dismissed.
Okay, well, and Gary?
Well,
till that kingdom come.
It's times like these I wish my friend Anthony was around, you know. It's a pity he's not joining. But I think that I understand what Richard is saying, and I do understand with what Dave has said, because if you remember our conversation earlier on, Sil, I was very much more leaning to what Richard is saying. But then at the same time, I do understand that if at all if it's not as demanding as, let's say, what MP Cox is. He's not even in the country. He's flying overseas doing some other business. Now, how can he be there when he's supposed to be making decisions or voting, he's then doing it by proxy? I don't understand. I'm not too sure how one can do that. But I understand what Dave is saying. I did say to Sil, Dave, that if I was an MP, and I think I'd make a very good MP, I would very much like to do it where I work, because I think that I understand my constituency, and my constituency is where I live, and I'll understand what their needs are. But it'd be very difficult for me to be a minister here in West Yorkshire and have a constituency down in Devon. I couldn't do it. I mean, I would have to give up. I would have to give up my church work to do that. Because to look after people, as you all may know, people love to know that their ministers are there, not jetting off somewhere or flying somewhere to address somebody else. So
can you see the comment? Can you see the comment? What someone said? Yes, prayer is needed. So.
Yes. So I understand what Dave is saying, and I would support him, but I would be on the fence with this, because I understand exactly what Richard is saying. Yes. That there are some people, because of where they are and the demands, they should give up. They should give up their job so that they can properly, and they would have the money. Cox don't need the money. He's got it somewhere, you know, to do it. So either he gives up his lawyer business to do the constituency, which is just a little below 100,000, or he gives up the constituency so that he can properly do what he's being paid handsomely to do.
So for me, it's not. Sorry to cut you, but for me, it's not purely about the money either. It's about serving, as you said there. I think that's the key, and how you can serve people. You're right. You'd have to give up where your working practices in West Yorkshire and move down to wherever your constituency base was. But you can move. You could apply to work in as a minister in that particular area where your constituents, where you're serving your constituents as well. And the other thing I just wanted to raise is, obviously, from a medical point of view, and I've shared that this may well be from a law point of view as well, you need to keep your knowledge and skills up. And what you don't want is a doctor working for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years in Parliament, and then going back to medicine and having to sort of feel like they're lost. You know, a lot changes in that 10 years. We have to keep our skills up. We're reading journals, we're reading medical journals, we're interacting with patients, we've got to keep the surgical skills up, etc., etc. So I would take a point there. You can't give up the medical work to work in Parliament unless you decide that you are giving up medicine entirely for want of seeking the passion in Parliament. But if you're not going down that line, then I don't think you should be giving up your role in medicine. And we have to have basically reviews every year to make sure your skills are up to scratch and be registered with our general medical sector.
I think,
so
David,
that's the key.
David, just one quick point before we move on. I think if you look at the way British parliamentary system work, and even with the councillors, yes, a lot of people, different professionals, step forward to represent the constituency. Lawyer, doctor, ordinary plumber, joiner, nurse, you name it. However, while they're in that position,
yes,
based on conflict of interest, there's certain guidelines which is very clear. And from what I've learned so far about this person have crossed the line in regarding that. There's nothing wrong with him actually maintain his practice. Yeah? Because he could be in parliament for 10 years and might be ready to resign or be kicked out that next election. That person needs to continue their profession, which is fair enough. So then they continue that. But the question is, there's certain guideline that the person breach. And if it's a normal work situation, this person should step down or be dismissed. That's all what I'm saying.
This is the guy that we're talking about. Let me just show you something, because I like this video here. Let me see if I can find it.
They don't like to hear it, Mr. Speaker. They don't like.
It looks like nobody likes to hear it, Silver. You can't hear it?
It's censored.
It looks so. Yeah, I think Silver, can you hear that?
Nope, nothing at all.
Yeah, we can't hear it.
You can't see. You couldn't see the picture, can you?
No, we can't see and hear it. No.
Okay, maybe that's why he's gone. Maybe that's why maybe we shouldn't. Jeffrey Cox. I mean, that was the time when the whole Brexit. That was, one of my favorite clips there. But nevertheless, still, I think, as David said, it's a balancing act, and it's good to hear what people say about that, because, I do think about the fact that, like, MPs sometimes they are in there for a season, and they can get kicked out. But as you rightly say, there's a proper way how to do things, and the conflict of interest is so crucial. I mean, I was supposed to stand at some political election, but because of my position, there's a restricted post I'm in. So I had to just stand down because of the fact that you might have to be dealing with members. So it's a tricky one. That is why most of these guys are millionaires. And that is something about MPs again, whereby that's why you see this same breadth of people sometimes doing those positions because they can afford it. They can go up there and they can campaign, but then the average bloke have to work, you know what I'm saying? And then it's not a good representation. But the Prime Minister said something that it's important for them to still be connected to the working world. They are real people. What do you think about that? Or is it a cop-out because he didn't want to apologize?
I think it could use that word, Silver, and it could use that word, but also acknowledge that if he breached the rule that is very clear, he needs to be accounted. Yes. As David rightly mentioned early on, you could be in a profession, and because of nature, you need to keep your skill up to speed. So yes, in that sense, I would use the word connected. I would support the Prime Minister by saying that, but to actually try to protect this person when he's clearly in breach of it, I don't think it's acceptable at all.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen. I did a video this morning, and it's a very sort of controversial video which I did this morning. I don't know anyone who watched my walk and talk motivational moments. They have seen this video, and I played, and I'll let you listen to it for a moment. Here we go.
And now they're kicking their faces, saying if they don't get the jab, they lose their jobs. What is going on? What is going on? Such hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. Right before our very eyes. What is that? But as I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, and as I say to you very clearly, if you're not making money at this time, you're going to be into poverty. All right? If you haven't changed your plan, change your action, because Elon Musk, those guys are going for the kill. Jeff Bezos, those guys are going for the kill. Mark Zuckerberg, change into meta, picking up. People are tapping into the pharmaceutical business as much as possible. Yeah? Because they have tapped into the money. You understand? They have tapped into the money, ladies and gentlemen. They have tapped into the boost mode, but they call it booster. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. People are going to get so filthy rich at this time. Yes? That's my view. That's my perspective. That's my perspective. So it is like a guaranteed lifetime of prosperity for a few. For a few. How many MPs are jabbed? How many people with Pfizer, Moderna, and all these companies are jabbed? How many? Exemptions upon exemptions. For the pure plebs, yes, they are the ones that is going to suffer the consequences if you don't.
Okay, that was me in my element, in my walk and talk motivational moments in the morning. That wasn't really one of my, hey, the Lord is, everything is great. That was one, like, I was just fired up, man, And, I was speaking to someone earlier today, and they're in Canada. I'm going to get them to call in shortly, that they've been working somewhere for years. And as a result of the policy or so in Canada, they are now out of job or so, and that is something going to happen. What's your take on this, David? Should I go to you first? Because you're a doctor. I mean, what's your take on what's happening? Because listen, we were clapping every Thursday. Remember, every Thursday I used to go out and clap and come back in, and saying, "You guys have been doing a fantastic job. Let's get it going." You guys were in the trenches, in the fighting it with your PPEs, and now they're just kicking you guys out. David, what's going on?
Okay, so it depends what question you're asking, Silborn. There's multiple.
That was a loaded.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. Lots to pick apart. Lots to talk about. I think I'm going to start and end with the word timing. I don't think the timing is perfect for the NHS because we are entering a flu season, and in the midst of this flu season, we already know every single year that people unfortunately go into hospitals and pass away with flu. But also that the turnover time, the pressures on the NHS have become insurmountable in this period of time. And so we try to get patients out back into the community as quick as we can. And quite obviously, if you're having care homes that now have lost staff because they aren't able to work because they don't have haven't had the COVID vaccine, aren't able to, and the care homes aren't able to recruit staff because of Brexit. The real realization because of Brexit, because people have left the care facilities and the NHS because of Brexit. Your loss of staff therefore means that you don't have the same number of care workers per patient. So my concern is that you're going to have lots of patients trying to get discharged, and we can't discharge them anyway in the midst of the winter crisis. So the timing for this is terrible. I still think that people should have free choice about what they would like to do in regards to vaccinations. That's at the end of the day, we can't force people into taking a vaccine. I think the government, as well as clinicians, as well as MPs, have tried their level best to try and encourage people to take the vaccine. Do I feel, and I guess your next question will be related to whether or not people should have a mandated vaccine in the care facilities. And I think that is a really challenging question to answer in terms of how if you look at historical kind of vaccines that we've got currently, in terms of people who are in my particular position, it's encouraged highly that we take vaccinations for hepatitis, for example. There are other positions in society where it's advised that people take vaccines too. So if you're a surrogate worker, for example, hepatitis A is something that it can sometimes manifest itself. So there are other areas within a society where vaccines have been recommended, but this is slightly different, and this is something that is is now mandated in essence for us to all have. Now, what I will say is in the NHS at the moment, in care facilities is different. So from today, in care facilities outside the NHS, it's just really the health sector outside of it. That's where this policies come in for us in the NHS. It's from April. And so we are, we'll wait to see what happens in terms of the mandated aspect of this, whether this will be just a double vaccine or whether it'll be mandated that the booster will be part of this as well. I think we all want to be in the arena of protecting lives. There's no doubt that the vaccine works effectively at doing that. And that's my feeling on the matter.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Richard at some point as to what persons can do. Gary, what's your take? And I'm going to try to get someone to just give us a testimony. Gary, what's your take on the timing at this time? Because according to the report here, it says government to introduce COVID-19 vaccination as a condition of deployment for all frontline health and social care workers, right? And it's very clear. Deadline for care home workers to be double jab is Thursday, 11th of November. Something else which someone sent to me today, which I found very interesting, is this image here. And there it is. Employment drive, care home assistant. Are you a registered nurse, experienced care worker? Apply to work in the United Kingdom with TLC Center. There we go now. So therefore, they're recruiting persons from overseas, from the Caribbean, as you can see right there. The Caribbean need these persons. It is very concerning as to what is happening at the same time. Gary, what's your take on this?
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken here, and Dave could probably correct me on this, that when Javid came on board as the health secretary, a question was asked of him in regards to vaccinations, yes, and he did say there's no plan and he's not doing it. Probably that's not the exact word, but didn't he say to some extent that he had he didn't have it in his mind really to go this way? Then all of a sudden, COP26 comes into play, and I think he's being pressured to move in this direction. That's my that's my take on the whole thing. It is unfortunate that he's gone this way, but at the same time, I think that it's going to hurt the NHS because there are doctors. I'm sure. I don't have the figures, so don't stamp on me too hard like a cockroach, Dave.
I never do that, Gary. You're a man of the cloth. I can't do that.
But I'm sure there are doctors, there are consultants, there are nurses, there are care workers in every sphere of the NHS that is very nervous about the vaccine. I'm sure that there are some, may not be a lot. It could just be one or two. I'm not saying it's a majority because I don't have figures. Let me just make that quite plain. However, there are people who are going to lose their jobs or have a fear of losing their jobs because they are not in favor of the vaccine, well, I wouldn't even say not in favor. I'm saying don't force me to take something. Don't force me. Don't compel me. That's what they're saying. Don't compel us. And if it comes to the point where people, as we've seen in America, there's a few that has lost jobs. In Europe, I'm sure there are some who have lost jobs or who have walked out of jobs. And for nurses and doctors, consultants and technicians across the board in whatever area or department of NHS that will walk out, the NHS cannot sustain that because they're wanting people, they're wanting nurses. And I just think it's a shame. I just think it's a shame that Javid is coming down now to say that by the 11th of this month, which is today, that people that people have to receive their jabs or lose their jobs. I don't like it, really. I don't like it.
Just one second. Can you hear me, Leroy?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Can you guys hear clearly?
Yeah.
Now, without saying the name, I think I said it already. You're in Canada.
Is it good?
Yeah, we're hearing you clearly. You're in Canada. Just for a few minutes. You're actually you guys are now experiencing what the UK is about to experience, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
If you can give me a breakdown of your scenario in a sense.
Okay, so one thing to note is that so these policies, they're very territorial. So I'm in Ontario, Canada, and it's probably different in other places. So like here with regards to mandating, if people work in nursing homes, for example, you have to take the vaccine as per the government. I work in a hospital and they give directives to each company to make their own policy. So it's based on people either have to be vaccinated or they will have to be frequently tested. And so I'll just get to my particular scenario. But before I mention that, I think most of these companies are actually in favor of mandatory vaccination, which means everybody should get it. So let's skip to my particular scenario though. So they were given a deadline in which they have to make these policies. And they gave me about a month and a half down the road, which I don't know how to put it verbatim, but the message they're saying is, well, you're going to have to, by this date, take a vaccine, because if you don't take a vaccine, the message you're sending is that you don't want to work for us. So that's the messaging behind it. And with that came some really harsh penalties, in my opinion. They're talking about layoffs without any kind of pay, and they're talking about termination, not just termination in the absolute worst way. Right. So, in my particular scenario, I've worked with my company for 33 years, and I'm thinking, well, these policies are something that I'm not going to endorse. I'd rather have a conversation.
Yeah.
I can speak very well, so I emailed them, and I put some concerns on the table, and they set up a meeting, and that meeting was 2 or 3 days before the proposed deadline, which they would stop paying me. So in that meeting, I just outlined certain things. Like, I'm very comfortable doing testing, and I will do it very frequently because conversations could be had. I didn't expect them to be flexible when they're saying conversations could be had because I don't work directly with patients. So if you're trying to accommodate me, we could have had conversations. So that's one, and I couldn't change their mind there. The part that really got to me, and it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, was when I literally said to them, if you do not pay me as per your policy, then you're going to put me in a big predicament. You know, this is 2 or 3 days away, and they were not flexible. So those 2 or 3 days came and went, and I was put on unpaid leave, so which means they stopped paying me, and then I was fired. You know, and I feel like there's no human aspect to that, because somebody who is not working with patients, who could have taken alternative solutions, because these policies are just broad-based, and no matter where you work, if you work on planet Mars, as long as you work for us, you have to take it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was just trying to have conversations, and for me, the part about the pay broke the camel's back for me, because I have so much vacation. I could be on vacation. I was trying to think of my decision, but they took everything away from me. And the way authority figures roll, it just makes me, I don't want to cry, but it just makes me feel like there's no human feeling involved, because they don't care how you're going to sustain yourself. They don't care how your family lives. And it's especially hurtful to me because I had a sit-down one-on-one conversation with them where I highlighted certain things. They seem like they don't care about it. So that's my stance right now.
Okay, if you just stay right there. Richard, I'm going to bring you in. Sorry. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing?
Hello, guys. How you guys doing?
I'm glad you saved us, because I didn't want anybody to criticize us. So there's no ladies. So that's why I wonder why you're here. Richard, what is the position from an employment? I mean, because you sent something through earlier today for persons who are going to be experiencing. What's your message?
I think first, evening everyone. Part of my job, I deal with workplace disputes and mediation. Over the last 3 months, especially when news break about the care workers, that they were the first test of the government plan for this national mandatory program.
Sorry, one second.
Yeah.
Leroy, I just remember you're listening online, isn't it?
No, I'm not.
No. You'll be able to listen on.
I can hear on the phone, though, so I mute my computer.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you go now. because of and thank you so much. Any questions, you guys? Before I want to just I guess any question anybody want to ask him? Sorry, or
no, but I think he needs an employment lawyer. I guess our employment lawyers are different over here than they are in Canada. So that's my advice.
No, in Canada, but Richard is going to give some tips as well. So listening to Richard, okay?
I think you're right, David. Yeah, he needs an employment lawyer. Yeah. But I think
he's online. He's listening as well. He's going to be listening.
Yes, as a point from a UK perspective in regarding that, there's quite a few options that been present itself at the moment. Obviously, we know when the law, a national law, you cannot get around a national law. And that's why the government decided to choose not to use persuasion, because so far, just like with the with COVID lockdown, it's based on persuading people to wear masks. But now the government wants to step it up to say it's mandatory. They use the care worker as an example. We should know that was going to happen. And now they announced early this week that it's going to be all care workers, all people across the NHS. From someone who, like my work I deal with, I normally have to reassure people say to me, what can I do? I just never encourage anyone to break the law, but I encourage them to seek advice outside of the workplace. Because in most cases, the employers will actually do everything possible to ensure that they do not seem to be breaking the law. So I'd have to speak to ACAS, which is it's a government agency, which they bestow advice employees and employers, which is free of charge, and they're very impartial about workplace rights, rule, and regulations.
Yes.
And that would be the first port of call, because I normally would try to help them to try to defend themselves. But first thing, I would prefer they actually find out from the expert who actually have a clear take on this from an employment law perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what some people are now doing. Just recently, I was given a press release by a group named Helping Hands. They're a self-help group, and their job is actually trying to alert people what their rights are, which is part of it involving human rights. But as you know, across Europe and across the major big Western countries, they use the word human rights conveniently when they want to. Yeah? A lot of people say human rights in this case, you shouldn't be forced someone to do something, it's against human rights. But that's why they decide to use their own national law as a way to override that. But again, it's very double standard. Because
number 5 in that thing, Richard, that says it's not mandatory that anyone is jabbed on the 11th of November, which is today, or any date. It can never be mandated as it breaches human rights, which you mentioned there.
It's not quite true in a sense that because it's law, isn't it? As I said before, a national law, if you're in breach of a national law, that obviously you could actually be brought up in front of the judiciary. So, so it's not quite true. Obviously, what they should say, I mean, you can challenge it and test it, because most new law, especially when it come out, a lot of organization there will try first to come forward to test it and say, is that how robust it is, and see if there's a strong opinion against that. So that's what I would say at this stage. But
So guys, just your perspective. I'm bringing Michelle. Michelle, what do you think this world is going to now with seeing all of this, whether one is vaxxed or not vaxxed? Because I know people who have been vaccinated, those who are even vaccinated, they're just not happy with how the world is moving. What's your take on this? Because a job is not just a job for many people. A job has impact financially, economically, their house, their children, their family, their future. It is not just a job, just like a job. You know, what's your take on this? I think it's uncaring, really unfair.
I think it's the thing about it when you talk about human rights. I'm sorry.
That's not like me. That was me.
Yeah, it was.
I know my video.
Human rights. I don't see we have human rights lawyers in America. they're not human rights. You don't have a human rights lawyer in America. It's usually civil rights lawyer or something like that. But like I said, my niece is going through the same thing. She works for the federal. She works for Medicare, but she works from home. And right now they're forcing her to get the jab, and she don't want to get it, but she's thinking the same thing. I'm going to be homeless. I have my child that I have to take care of, and those sort of things. And even though she lives here, she resides here in Florida, and our governor, we have the stay, when which the Supreme Court, said, it's a stay until when they really go to court and everything like that. They're telling her that she still have to take it. She have until the 22nd of this month to make her decision up if she wants to lose her job or if she wants to, take the job and keep her job. So, it's kind of hard, and I think that it's unfair, and I think it's human rights violation. It's unconstitutional for them to do that, and it's like a force issue that they're forcing you to put something in your body that you don't want to put in your body.
Well,
Gary,
there's a point there.
Gary, the moral. Sorry, Richard. Sorry,
Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah, just a quick point. Just following that, Michelle. But in the UK, you have a situation where if you've been forced to do something and you lose your job, they call it constructive dismissal. And that's part of the current employment law. This is where the conflict come in. Now they introduce this new law, which is mandatory regarding you have to take the job, otherwise you lose the job. So I'm saying is, so there is a serious issue with the current employment law. If you're being forced to it, if someone come to me and say, listen, I'm being forced out of my job because my employer want me to and Christmas to celebrate Christmas, when I'm based on my religion, I don't celebrate Christmas. So you lost your job in this country. You have a right to actually to challenge it in court, to the tribunal court, as regarding you being forced out, say constructive dismissal. So how do you play this new law where you're being forced out of the job that you love? As we all admit, it's more than just a job. It's all about your livelihood. Yeah? And them say that you're going to do the job. Can you go to
here in America, they wouldn't call it a law. They'll just call it a mandate. It's not a law. It's a mandate. It's not considered a law.
Yeah.
It's a mandate.
Yeah.
So there's where it's funny. And then for you to, because I'm telling my niece, listen, I wouldn't, if I don't want to take it, I would let them give me a pink slip, just in case down the line you have lawsuits that's going out or what have you. They can't say you resigned. You got to say you was forced out because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gary, what's the moral and the I don't know. I just think that the world. I think somehow I think this is what I think. I think that the mental health and the psychological impact is going to be so worse than the impact of COVID. What's happening? I don't know.
Economically, everything. It's right now. Economically, it's like it's crazy because really and truly, we go in our supermarkets now, and it's not as stocked as it used to be. It's really not because we have, it's not as stocked. So you're seeing longer lines now for gas, for you to get gas here in the U.S.
That's Sleepy Joe, man. Sleepy Joe, no, sorry.
I'm telling you.
Sorry.
Telling you. No, it's so crazy. So it's having a real impact on the economy itself.
Yes. Can I just go to Gary? Gary, sorry, I keep talking to you and I keep pulling you back. Yeah.
That's okay. That's all right. I mean, from my point of view, from where I sit, I can always, hold up my finger and start preaching and telling them that everybody's a sinner and all that kind of stuff. I mean that that could be one case, but it's sad to know because there are people in our world, and just like what Michelle has said about her niece, who are in similar situations. Multiply Michelle's niece 100,000 million or how many times in the same situation. Some are going to take the jab just to keep the job,
Just
but
to
at the
keep the
same
job.
but at the same time, something else could happen a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, a year later that they
And
have
you
to
can't
leave
do
the job
nothing.
because of something else. Now,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
the governments of our world, I'll say this much. Again, I'm not in the corridors of power. I haven't walked down the same corridor as Boris Johnson or Joe Biden or Li Jinping or Putin has walked. But there are people around them. There are people in powerful positions. They know what they are doing. They know that if once it goes out, thousands of people are going to leave jobs, and they are prepared. They are prepared for it. We are not. They know what to do when certain things happen. We don't know. We are in the dark. And it's sad because morally, just like what the lockdown did for many families are going to be broken up. People are going to commit suicide. People are going to start robbing. There's homes. Our homes are under threat. Our businesses are going out of business. But at the same time, there are certain people, when they want to feed their young ones or feed themselves, they will go to extraordinary lengths to feed themselves or their families. Now, the question has to be asked, why are they forcing the populations of the world to take the jab?
They
What?
have an agenda.
Well,
They have
yes,
an agenda.
there is an agenda somewhere out there. I do understand. I mean, Dr. David may again, he may put the spanner in the works of it. I don't know. But yes, okay, the vaccine has helped many. The vaccine has saved many lives, and I thank God for those who have worked tirelessly and hard to ensure that, let's say, our babes, our children, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters are kept safe. I understand that. But yet, there are many others who it has hurt many. I have known many. I've been to funerals, me, where many of my friends have not had any underlying issues. Nothing was wrong with them. But yet they took it, just the one jab, and they haven't come back to say, well, I'm not going to take it the next time. They have not given that opportunity.
Yes.
We have to lay them in the earth because of something took place in their bodies. I know that the metabolism of our bodies are different in nature, and what hurts you still wouldn't necessarily hurt me. I understand that, but something is going on. There is an underlying reason why things are happening in our countries, that our governments are making decisions that every weekend, and the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 for the UK, they are not highlighting that there have been demonstrations in the city of London. There are demonstrations in the city of Leeds. There's demonstrating in Europe. There are demonstrations in the United States.
In
They're
the
not
United States, and it's not being on
any
corporate media.
television. Exactly.
No,
These
they don't put it on corporate
there,
media.
there are people who are demonstrating. Why aren't they highlighting these things,
They're
Sil?
not highlighted because they
Yeah.
have a plan. They have an
Well,
agenda.
well, I think I think we hope that somehow that the powers that be are listening, but that can only happen until good people speak up and say, hey, something is wrong and you need to listen to what we're saying. Because at the end of the day, all politicians are subject to the people, but that is only for that period of time when they're ready to be re-elected. But until then, they do what they want to do. David, we're going to wrap up now shortly. But David, what's your last word on this particular topic, though?
Yeah, lots to pick apart from what's been said this evening. I think I'll go back to what I said before. The timing of everything probably doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
I'll take issue with what Gary says about the vaccine in itself. I think in regards to the vaccine causing, it sounds like Gary is saying there's an instance that the vaccine causes an overwhelming arching number of deaths in the community. I don't think that's the case. The facts don't speak on that. Everybody can raise their eyebrows if they like, but if you look at the number of people who have taken the vaccine and the numbers of deaths attributed to people who've taken the vaccine, it's pales in comparison. There was press reports about, again, you can shake your head, Michelle, but it's fact. If you look at the number of people who have basically lost their lives over the course of time who have not taken the vaccine, the numbers of people who have had a subsequent vaccine, it pales in comparison. So please look at those data. Please look at the data and then come back to me, and we can have a conversation and discussion. But in regards to the timing, I think the timing of mandatory vaccines, that's the thing here. It's going to put overwhelming pressure on our NHS, where people do walk out because they're not able to sort of undertake the task and jobs that they can do. What I will say on that matter is that the CQC will be responsible for making sure that this particular transition takes place. And how they do that, I don't know how they're going to enforce it. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let me say,
what they're doing is that they're not pushing out the percentage of people who are dying from the vaccine. They're not pushing that out. They're not putting that percentage out there, and this is the problem. They're
so
not.
So can I ask a question? If they're not pushing that number out, where do you get the numbers to say that the people are dying from the vaccine? That's what I would like to know.
Because I have friends that taken it.
No, I know. I get it. Everybody's got friends, but I'm just wondering.
Taken it, and they were perfectly healthy, and after they took it, inflammation, everything is going on with them right now. I'm telling you. And I know here, and I don't know about in UK, but I know here they are not pushing out the percentage of the people that really gets affected by it after taking the shot. They are not doing that.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. I would need that number, because if you're saying the counter argument is that people are passing away, people are getting infected, getting inflammation, I need to know the numbers. And they say they're not putting out the numbers. Is not really answering the question. I need to know the numbers that are there. Okay. What I'm trying to say here is, in the UK at least, I can tell you that the numbers of people who have passed away because of the vaccine pales in comparison to those people who have passed away through not having the vaccine at all from COVID-19. That's what I'm telling you.
Let's say something, Sylvan.
Let Gary. Oh, sorry. Gary was going to say something, and then Richard. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I understand that. I understand what you're saying, Dave. I understand what you're saying. But if they're not given the details of those people who have been affected, whether it's by death or change of operation. I know of young ladies, mothers who have taken the vaccine, Dave, and they cannot leave their home. They're still at home because of them taking the vaccine. Now, I can understand that millions of people have been saved.
David can't say nothing because David's in an organization too. So
that's an easy cop-out excuse.
You cannot talk against it, David, because you're in the organization.
Michelle, if you listen to what I've been saying all along, the fact that people can make a decision. I'm not forcing people to take the vaccine. I've never told people that they should take it. Or must take it, sorry. I've said people should take it. Let me finish. I've told people that if they feel that the information that they receive from clinicians It is because we as clinicians have a duty of care for patients. Essentially, I would never postulate and tell people to do something if I felt it was unsafe, if I felt uneasy about doing something. Just because I work for the NHS does not mean I'm pandering to people and saying you must do something. I look at the evidence, I look at the information that's in front of me, and I feel that the vaccine itself is a safe thing. It's an effective thing, and it works. So I take issue when anybody comes to me and says the organization I work for. I don't work for these organizations. I don't work for Pfizer. I don't work for Johnson & Johnson. I don't work for any of these organizations. I work for a health system, and I've been empowered to be able to talk to people and tell them what I feel about the benefits and the risks about taking a vaccination. That's what I'm empowered to do. And it's the same with the role that I do in terms of the job that I do as a doctor. So as a doctor, my first and foremost duty is to do no harm. If I felt that taking a vaccine was to harm the people that I'm trying to serve, I'd be doing myself a disjustice. I'd be doing you a disjustice. I'd be doing everybody that's listening a disjustice. And that's just not me. So there's no point of going down that line.
Yeah. Let me go to Richard.
Not every doctor thinks like you.
Okay.
Not every, let me tell you something.
Michelle,
there's a thing where it's profit over human beings, and that's what's going on in the world right now. Profit over.
Okay,
that may well be the case. Just raise a point, guys. I think
let Richard raise it. Richard says,
guys, listen. We must remember. Michelle might not be aware of this. In the UK, we have this big campaign about saving the NHS, and part of that is everyone must play the part. Now we have a situation where some of our senior, experienced people in the NHS now are being forced out of their job.
Yes.
Which could be a massive implication later on down the line where maybe a shortage of these people, especially there's another fourth wave or third or fourth wave. Yeah. What they're going to do? Are they going to beg these people to come back and save the NHS again? That's what we missed out in this discussion. Yeah. A lot of people retired, come out, and they died saving the NHS and saving lives. Yeah?
I think I posted.
And those people now, some of these people who want to resign as a result of this, say, I'm not being forced to take this thing here. Are we saying if you have a third or fourth wave later in America, the fall over the winter month, are they going to say big national campaign, we want you back to save the NHS again? So wait a minute, you just kick us out.
And that's the point that that's the point that David was alluding to, that
so we need the timing is wrong. Great timing about this. One other key point as well. People who have to be resigned must not sign anything. They say you censor me, but don't put anything in paper, because later on down the line there may be some lawsuit case, test case, where it said, basically, this is my piece of paper here, you actually sacked me. I've never been signed away my rights.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. Michelle, you wanted to say something quickly. I'll let you say that point.
Can you hear me? Because I know you can't see me now.
Oh, I can hear you. We can see you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you as well.
I'm not seeing you guys.
Don't worry, we see you, man. We see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay right there. Don't move.
I'm just saying. Well, this is what I told my niece. Is the same thing. Do not resign. Let them give you the pink slip, because if down the line there's a lawsuit, you can be involved in that, and they won't say that you're the one who resigned.
Perfect. Correct.
But as far as the NHS, the head over here, I think I posted it, Silburn. They were asking her about the office itself, her office, and many people are still working from home. And when they were asking her the percentage and all of that, she didn't know anything. She knew nothing at all about the percentage of people that took it in her office, that's working within the office. She didn't know the percentage. She didn't know how many people was in the office. And when the interviewer asked her, so why can't you give me that? You walk into the office and you're not seeing anyone in the office. Why can't you give me the percentage? But to me, it's just a thing that they want you to comply.
Yes.
And it's a thing that it's like, it's a depopulation thing that's going on.
Oh,
just straight up.
And I must say, one of the thing about it is that there are many views, many voices, many different opinions, and I think it's important that all of these are come to the table, because we're realizing at the same time that lots of the voices that were being silenced before, sneakily, you see, the social media platforms are allowing them to sneak through. Hang on a second, they wouldn't dare say this before. Even my shows, which I talk about when I talk about the vaccine and so like that, we're not saying anything wrong. Normally they shut you down, and I notice they don't do that anymore, Michelle. If you notice on even on my talking sick, they don't do that anymore. So but anyway, in wrapping up, guys, I want to thank you so much. We're going to talk about FW Klerk, but he passed away. As to the legacy of him, we'll do that the next time. I got a South African I was trying to get on to come on tonight, but she's gonna come back. She's gonna come next week. The legacy of FW Klerk, who passed away today, who set the stage for. Well, not set the stage. The Black African set the stage, but he had to comply. I think that's the best way. And the last one, Richard. Richard, good night. Richard.
Yes, good night, guys. But like I said, we must stand tall and make sure our voice being heard during this uncertain times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. David.
Sayonara, good night, peace.
You just sayonara.
Okay,
and Michelle.
Good night, guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Yes, take care. And thank Michelle for coming on. And so we have the evidence that a lady was on the show. Yes.
Her contribution was very important as well. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you very much.
And my caller from Canada, thank you so much for your contribution. And we'll talk about it. Gary, you're going to say the last prayer? Lord Supper.
David, I love you, man.
I won't
it's all
pray.
love, David.
I won't pray, but I'll make an appeal to everyone. Just be careful with what you do, and don't be pushed anything that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Just take your time, and believe me, if you're a Christian, if you believe the Lord for yourself, just have a relationship with Him, and just be at peace with yourself, because in the long run, if you do what's in your heart to do for yourself, in your mind, and things don't go the way that you want it to go, in the long run, I do believe that the Lord will see you through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Amen. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Hallelujah. Shandai, Shay. Anyway, guys, listen, I want to say good night and thank you so much. And we'll see next week.
Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care.
Good to see you, Dave.
Good evening, guys.
Take care, David. Good.
Take care.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Thank you so much for joining on the show. Those on Instagram, those on YouTube. Very empowering show, very good discussion. Richard sort of set out a lot of bits as to what persons should consider and think about if they're going to get into the rut of having to leave their jobs, and ensure you receive a dismissal notice if they're dismissing you. On the constructive dismissal, that is firing you because you refuse to be jabbed. This is called constructive dismissal, and it is unlawful. So therefore, don't do anything in a rush, and get a lawyer, seek some advice, and go online and read up as much as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. Those on YouTube, those on Facebook, remember to like and subscribe to the Silver and Show. Watch on my Walk and Talk motivational moment as well in the morning, and take care of yourself and be well. Peace out and good night.